All right, let's talk about it. The big ape is finally back. Can you believe it? After more than 2.5 decades, Donkey Kong is starring in a brand new 3D adventure. And oh man, the reviews are just off the charts. So today we're going to dig in and figure out exactly what makes Donkey Kong Bonanza the system seller everyone's talking about for Nintendo's new console. And look, the praise is just, it's everywhere. This isn't just a, hey, this is a pretty good game situation. No, right from the jump, critics are using words like essential and can't miss. Some are even calling it the first true must-have game for the new platform. That's a huge deal.
Okay, to really get why everyone is so hyped, you have to understand the wait. We're talking more than 25 years. Seriously, think about that. A whole generation of gamers has grown up without a 3D Donkey Kong adventure. So, the pressure was on. The big question on everyone's mind was, could it possibly live up to decades of anticipation? Was this even possible?
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll talk about this groundbreaking return. Then we'll get into what everyone's raving about, the joy of destruction. After that, we'll look at how you're going bananas with powers, explore the surprisingly musical story, and finally, we'll wrap up with why it's being called an imperfect masterpiece.
All right, first up, a groundbreaking return. The setup is actually pretty simple, The evil Voidco Corporation traps DK and his mining operation way underground. So what does he do? He teams up with a young Pauline, and they set off on this wild journey down to the Earth's core. But honestly, it's the response to this return that's been absolutely incredible. And just look at the consensus. The verdict is in, and it's a landslide. We're seeing phrases like must-have, instant classic, and system seller in basically every single review. It's pretty clear that Nintendo didn't just meet the hype, they completely shattered expectations.
So, what's the secret ingredient here? What makes this game so special? Well, it all boils down to one simple, incredibly satisfying idea: complete and total destruction. So how do they do it? Well, the tech behind all this madness is something called voxels. The easiest way to think about it is like a 3D pixel. Imagine the entire world isn't made of big, solid objects, but instead it's built out of millions of tiny little cubes. It's a total game changer, really. The world stops being just a background and becomes this massive interactive sandbox you can play in. And this voxel world, it gives you an insane amount of freedom. You're not just running down a hallway anymore. Nope, you're smashing through basically any wall you see. You can literally rip chunks out of the ground to use as weapons. You can turf surf on giant slabs of stone, climb surfaces you create, dig your own tunnels to find secrets. You can even slap the ground to send out a sonar to find treasure. It's wild. What this really means is that every single level becomes your personal playground. There's no one right way to do things. The game is constantly nudging you, saying, hey, get creative. See a laser grid you can't get past? Who cares? Just punch a tunnel right underneath it. Got an enemy you can't reach? Just tear up a piece of the floor and chuck it at them. It's this total freedom, this player-driven exploration that critics are saying is just completely intoxicating. But, okay, it's not just about smashing stuff. On top of all that, they've layered in this surprisingly deep system of powers, upgrades, and collectibles that adds a whole other level to the game. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A 3D platformer with tons of stuff to collect? We've all been burned by pointless collectathons before. But here's the thing. In this game, everything has a purpose. Banandium gems, they're for skill points to upgrade DK. Fossils, they let you buy new outfits for DK and Pauline that actually give you helpful stat boosts. And gold? That's for useful stuff like revives or balloons to save you from a fall. Nothing you collect feels like a waste of time. And all of this upgrading feeds into the main event, the Bonanza transformations. Basically, Pauline sings a song and DK gets these insane animal powers. You've got the Kong Bonanza for super strength to smash through the absolute toughest stuff. Then there's the Zebra Bonanza, which gives you super speed to run on water. And my personal favorite, the Ostrich Bonanza, which lets you fly around and drop explosive eggs. It's just as gloriously over the top as it sounds. Okay, so we've got the smashing, we've got the powers, but what really seemed to surprise a lot of reviewers was that underneath all that chaos, there's a game with a ton of heart. And that heart comes from its story and its music. And really, at the core of that story is this incredibly charming dynamic between our big, goofy silent hero Donkey Kong and this shy, young version of Pauline. You get to watch her grow and find her voice while he acts as her protector, and it just works. It gives the whole journey this unexpected emotional anchor that reviewers absolutely fell in love with.
And music is literally woven into the gameplay. Like we said, it's Pauline's singing that actually triggers DK's big transformations. But beyond that, the soundtrack itself is getting so much praise. Critics are throwing around words like fantastic earworms and, yes, serious bangers. It's one of those soundtracks you'll be humming for weeks.
Okay, but let's be real. As much as people are loving this game, it's not perfect. No game is. So for our final section, let's talk about why so many people are calling this an imperfect yet undeniable masterpiece.
So let's start with the highs. And wow, the list is long. You've got that incredibly satisfying destruction, the addictive and rewarding exploration, the gorgeous, vibrant art style, the charming characters and story, an absolutely excellent soundtrack, and that deep, meaningful upgrade system. It's just win after win after win. On the other hand, there are a few common hiccups that keep popping up in reviews. When the action gets really heavy with all the destruction, there can be some noticeable frame rate drops. The camera has been called fickle, especially in tight spots. A lot of people also felt the boss fights were a little on the easy side, and some of the optional challenges could get a bit repetitive. But here's the thing, and this is the key takeaway from almost every single review. Even with those technical issues, the core experience, the pure, unfiltered joy of just smashing your way through these incredible worlds, it's so good, so powerful, that it makes you forget about all the little problems. The fun factor completely wins out. And all this really leaves us with one big, interesting question, doesn't it? Donkey Kong Bonanza is being called an instant classic, a potential game of the year, despite its flaws. So it really makes you think, what makes a game a true masterpiece? Does it have to be technically perfect? Or is it about creating an unforgettable experience that is just so much fun you literally can't put the controller down?